and welcome to this segment of Community Viewpoint. We have Kathy McKenna here with us again. She's the Director of Special Projects from No to Abuse and Nevada Outreach, yes. I believe if you were watching before, we were speaking on what's called the Transitional Housing and Nutrition Center. And where were we?
So we were talking about those people talking about, well, gosh, let's just move them all out. So please realize that the individuals who are experiencing homelessness right now, you can't just look at it and say, you know what, we decided we don't want you in our community, so we're going to send you to Las Vegas or Los Angeles. You pick one and we're going to get you there. You can't do that any more than I can't look at you, John, and say, gosh, you know what, John, I don't want you here anymore. I'm just going to tell you, you have to move to Las Vegas or Los Angeles.
Yes.
Nobody's going to do that. But we do make sure that those individuals that, you know, sometimes they get separated from their family. And it's been years since they've seen them, and the family's worried about them. They may not have. We call and we say, hey, your son Bob is here, and he's homeless right now. Would you be interested in if we send him back, can you provide him housing and a place to stay and help him get back on his feet? If they say yes, we send them back because we want them with somebody who can support them. But a lot of our people right now are individuals from here. So their family and support system is here. It's just that where you run into a problem is their house isn't big enough to be able to withstand having, you know, maybe another family move in, you know, a husband and wife and 2 kids. They don't have the room to put them in. Sometimes they just don't have the funding to be able to do it. If they are on some form of a housing program, you're not allowed to have other individuals move in.
Oh, that's true.
Regardless, you know, or you will lose your housing. And then that just creates another problem. And so people need to understand that these are individuals who, a majority of them, who have been raised here, who want to stay here. And yes, some of them have been homeless for several years. Yes, some of them have mental health. Yes, some of them have substance abuse. I can tell you this much, John, in July and August of this year when we were receiving 115 and 120 degree temperatures, who knows what I would do if I was left out there to my own accord, no money to my name, no housing, no car, to try to exist. I don't know what I would be like. I'll be very honest with you. It is difficult living, especially when you're afraid constantly. You have to protect what little valuables that you do have. You have to protect your tent, or people steal it, or they do get beat up. They get robbed for money. So yes, they can buy drugs. But this center will also have mental health and substance abuse therapists and counselors there. We will have resources there to help them get jobs or GEDs and go on to get a degree. So it's not one that it's just a, gosh, we're going to have them come in and sleep. We're going to do intensive case management. Are we going to be able to get everybody turned? No. But I can tell you this much. There are a lot of individuals that we have helped that today are in housing, they are receiving mental health treatment, and they are living a good, sustainable life. And that is all we want, is to allow these individuals to afford them the same decency and courtesy to help them get back on their feet so that they can live a sustainable life. It's truly difficult. And as I said, our new homeless that we're seeing are a lot of senior citizens. I had someone from the school call us last week about a disabled gentleman. He was 55 in a wheelchair living under a billboard on 160.
Ooh.
And extremely concerned. He had a pup tent. It's starting to get cold. And she's like, please, can you help him? So of course we are helping him. But this isn't just an isolated case. And it almost seems like that a lot of the individuals almost want to discriminate against the what I'm going to call able-bodied men and women who they feel, well, gosh, they're homeless on their own accord. They just want to be homeless. They don't want to be homeless. We don't know what happens in people's lives. You know, the trauma that people go through. You will have a support system. I will have a support system. So hopefully I won't end up homeless after a major traumatic event. But these individuals, for whatever reason, whether it's mental health, substance abuse, or just the lack of having a support system, are now ending up homeless. And they just need a hand up. No, we don't give a handout. Today, when you come and you need help with your rent, guess what? You're probably going to have to go through a budgeting class, because we aren't going to just hand you the funding. We want to make sure that this helps you become sustainable. And that's the key word, sustainable. What do we need to do? Some of them we may go through parenting classes. Some of them we make them go through anger management classes. So it's not a matter of, I'm just going to hand a check and fix your problem. We want to go through and see, what exactly is your problem? You would be amazed. I'll have somebody walk in and say, I need a refrigerator. And when you get talking to them, they're behind on their rent or they're behind on their utilities, but their need that they feel is the greatest is that refrigerator. So instead of us just band-aiding that broken arm and helping them get a refrigerator, we sit them down and say, let's fix your life as a whole. Let's figure out what we need to do to get you caught up on your rent, caught up on your utilities, so you have that ability for sustainability. Because just handing them a refrigerator is not going to fix their problem.
Yes. Well, I used to work for for Stacy too, so I've been involved with a lot of this too. Back,
and I know
back in the day.
Absolutely. I know NYCC has seen a lot of that, and thank heavens that they are here as a resource in this community. Their workforce development program is absolutely awesome. Them being able to take over the food portion of this project. I've not done food, so I greatly appreciate her help in understanding what all we need on the food side of the house, so that we can have a grocery store-like experience for a pantry, so that people get the food that they want and that they need, instead of handing people at pantries a bag of dry beans. You know, and you've got a homeless guy and he's looking at this going, well, what am I going to do with this? Because we're not going to give him a stove. We'll burn down we'll burn down the desert. I have played with some solar stoves to actually find some that really do work. Sounds crazy, but at least it has a way of...
I know, I've got those at home.
Do you really?
Because I do a Earth Day event, and it's one of my fortes.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
And it's amazing to be able to... I've actually bought them and given them to homeless individuals to allow them to be able to cook their food. And it's amazing to me, even when it's cold outside, our Nevada sun is a hot one, and it's amazing what it'll do in an actual solar stove.
We'll talk about the solar stove some
We will
other time.
We will have to. So,
Yes.
So the tough part is, John, is I think there's a lot of people that it seems to be a lot of individuals who have come into Nevada in the last 4 or 5 years since COVID that are the most scared. Those that live in Mountain Falls, or they have the higher income and the higher housing, in fear that, oh my gosh, it's going to turn into this, homeless town that everyone's going to come to. And I hate to say it, John, but Pahrump is definitely not a homeless destination. It's not easy to live here in the winter. What few Tonopah residents that have been homeless, usually the sheriff's department brings down here in the wintertime, so at least they can exist outside. You can live here. Granted, you got to bundle up, and hopefully you have a tent. Daylight today with 50-mile-an-hour winds, it's ugly.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to try to have my tent up that I'm going to live in today, and that's what these individuals have to deal with day in and day out. So everyone deserves to have shelter. And if you look at HUD's Housing First model, it's like Maslow's hierarchy. Shelter and feeling safe is the first thing we have to do before we can help these individuals with their mental health, with substance abuse. They have to have a safe place before you can try to treat them, because when they see a therapist and they're still living out in the middle of the desert, it just doesn't work.
No.
It's too hard on them, and we have to help these individuals to be able to help themselves.
All right. So we've got less than 2 minutes now. On what are you going to learn on the next meeting?
So we'll expand a little bit more on what we are foreseeing for the Transitional Housing and Nutrition Center. We'll be garnering more information. For those individuals that gave us emails, we will be emailing them and asking them questions, because I would like input from the ones that at least asked us to email. We will not ever solicit those that asked us not to email them. So we will be working with those individuals so that they can provide input into the project as well.
And the results from that meeting will definitely be in the newspaper.
Yes.
The following week.
Should be, and it's again November 20th at 6 p.m. at VEA. And if you do go to the Nevada Outreach website, you do have the ability to see all the documents that we are utilizing and working on.
So I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come with us to explain a little bit more about the folks out here. Please don't follow what you see and hear on social networking, because that's not coming straight from the horse's mouth, so
That's
to speak.
right. I'm always open for phone calls. Please reach out.
So please ask the right people the questions that you have, and you'll get the correct answer. So
Thank you, John.
thank you very much for stopping by, and thank you for watching.
All right.
And welcome once again to Community Viewpoint. I'm John Pollock, your host for this segment. With me today is Kathy McKenna, the Director of Special Projects at, which one?
Nevada Outreach.
Nevada Outreach. So you may have heard that there was a meeting last Wednesday?
Last Wednesday.
Right, and Kathy was one of the people
Collaborators.
Her and Stacy was there?
Yes, Stacy and I are collaborating on this together.
Okay, and what they're collaborating on is something called a Transitional Housing and Nutrition Center. So you know what I'm talking about now. Okay, that was held at the Valley Electric Community Center on 372, and that was the first meeting, and there's going to be a second meeting?
There is going to be a second meeting. It will be November 20th at 6 o'clock at the same location, Valley Electric Conference Center.
All right, during the first meeting, it was the meeting of the people in town with Kathy and Stacy to exchange thoughts on what they thought was going to happen and what actually is going to happen. Did you show them the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
So I did the PowerPoint presentation there while we were there, and then we opened it up for questions and answers.
All right, and that'll be in the newspaper this coming Wednesday. It'll be earlier because this won't be broadcast until Saturday. But tell us a little bit about what this Transitional Housing and Nutrition Center is actually.
Okay. So Nevada Outreach, and I'll back up a little bit. Nevada Outreach is one of the last 24 family resource centers that are located here in Nevada. And the state funds Nevada Outreach, and what the purpose is to help those individuals with rent, mortgage, utilities. We've helped people with gas cards, shelf-stable food, clothing, household goods, appliances, furniture, anything to help them get back on their feet. As well as we also are advocates for domestic violence, sexual abuse, and elder abuse here in Nye County. And so we do see a lot of those individuals that are fleeing a very bad situation that need to be housed somewhere else. So Nevada Outreach is the intake site for Nye County for the homeless. We are one of 2 locations. The other is Nye County's Health and Human Services, and they are also ones that do the intake on the homeless site. So we are starting to see an increase in homelessness. And of course, everybody knows with the complaints that we've started hearing from at the parks. There was a stabbing at the park where someone had died. There's now been new legislation passed here in Nye County where the sheriff will now start going out and writing tickets and potentially jailing those individuals that do not move off of private property after being notified after 5 days. So where are those people going to go? Do they move to another private piece of property and squat there for 5 days till somebody comes and makes them move again? BLM has seen the same problem where they have dozens of individuals that they end up ticketing every year because they stay on BLM property too long. You can stay on BLM property for 2 weeks. So I'm going to say since the advent of COVID, we have started seeing a new type of homeless, and that is really our seniors. Our seniors are struggling. We've not seen Social Security gets an increase, but they don't get truly the increase to where inflation is. And so we have many individuals that make between $700 and $1,000 a month walking in our door, needing to find a place to rent. As we all know, rent was $750, and some of them have doubled and tripled. And they're selling the homes out from underneath them, and so they have no place to stay. And the landlords want to rent to where there's no more than 30% of their income goes towards housing. So let's say you're lucky enough to make $1,000 a month. Nobody's going to rent to you for $300. Our rooms that we're seeing right now that are being rented are running between $600 and $900. Campers are going for $900
I
plus
read that, yes.
utilities. And so that's the struggle. So USDA had come about 1.5 years ago, and there was government representation, nonprofit representation from citizens, and they asked what projects could we actually help with. And Stacy had wanted a new food pantry because we noticed during COVID the food pantries here are run by the churches, and thank heavens for the churches for volunteering, but a lot of the volunteers are senior citizens. And during COVID, as we both know, nobody wanted to be around COVID. And so we saw a huge food insecurity. We're already food insecure, but it garnered even worse. So Stacy was looking at having a new food pantry. I was looking at saying, hey, we need to find a place to house these individuals that were trying to get into permanent housing. And so we kind of married our projects together and decided to collaborate together on it. And that was about 1.5 years ago. It finally started to come to a little more fruition here in August. So in August is when we started the project that we were actually starting to work towards.
So I understand you have an auxiliary board or a board
It's actually a committee.
Citizens?
Yes, auxiliary committee. I have citizens, I have government employees, I have business representation. Not all advisory members believe they don't agree with having a homeless shelter. And so it's not like I put all yay-sayers on the committee. I put yay-sayers and naysayers because I need to hear what is the opposition. Saying, gosh, I don't want it in my backyard isn't really fair.
You don't want somebody to rubber stamp things.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So I want to hear the opposition, constructive opposition. As I said, not in my backyard, or oh my gosh, if you build it, they will come. We're looking at a 100-bed facility that will house primarily 5 different subsets of our community: domestic violence, unaccompanied minors, and families that are being evicted and struggling. Then we are also looking at men and women to be able to house them. But in total, we're talking 100. So nobody's busing them in. They're not going to come from California or Las Vegas. Believe it or not, our people that are here, the majority of the people that we are seeing coming through the doors are Nevadans, are Nye County citizens. We're doing a poll right now, and the last poll, the average length of time they've lived in Nevada is 15 years, and the average length of time they've lived in Nye County is 10. So that is not people that have just moved in. These are people that are long-term residents.
Yeah, because the number was given of 400 people. That's incorrect.
And right, the 400, I think there's 438, and I can look it up just to make sure, but in rural Nevada, there's 123 in Nye County
So
that were counted.
the mistake they made.
That's the mistake they made. And the problem is it's almost fear-mongering. People are afraid of the unknown. They're afraid that it's going to be like a San Francisco or a Los Angeles. I'm sorry, Pahrump is not like Los Angeles or San Francisco. A lot of people look at me and say, gosh, I can't believe you live in the desert in this little small town. And I love it. I like the rural. But those that like the rural don't want to go to Las Vegas to the shelter. And they really shouldn't have to. Mm-hmm. Those in Los Angeles aren't going to say, yeah, I want to go out where I could freeze to death in the desert in the wintertime, or I can burn up in the summertime. They want to stay in Los Angeles. And they have way more resources and way more dollars than we have today.
So I mentioned to you the place that I know of in very southern tip of California called Slab City, where the roles are reversed. And you know who runs the town there? It's the homeless.
It's the homeless.
Who comes there in the wintertime? It's all the RVers, the retired people that come over there, and they're able to stay there free of charge. So I find that sort of comical, because I could see the roles being reversed, and maybe some of these people should go down there and see what type of society that they've made down there, because they have churches down there, they have radio stations, they have somebody has got a B&B over there.
Airbnb, hey!
Yeah, they make things work because these people are not degenerates. They are educated people that are out of homes. They're homeless, basically.
Yes.
And they're from San Francisco, the different parts of the country. So the people I met over there, they were very well-spoken. And but the roles are reversed. So I'm not telling you to go to Slab City.
Well, I will tell you what's interesting, because a lot of them say, well, just bus them home. We already do that today. I don't think that people understand what All Nevada Outreach does today to help the homeless. We do bus the individuals home if they have a family member.
Somewhere to go.
To accept them on the other side. I'm not going to send somebody to Gainesville, Florida, if there's not somebody in Gainesville, Florida, that will accept that individual and say, yes, that person can live at my house. I will help them get back on their feet. We get them a bus ticket, or in some cases, we get a plane ticket. A lot of times we can't do a plane ticket because they don't have proper ID. And so if not, we can send them on the bus, and we'll send them on a bus. But we do this all the time. Even for domestic violence victims, we're not going to send them back to a place that will not accept them and have them be homeless in another spot unless they have somebody to help them. And as long as they do, John, we send people back all the time.
We're going into the second segment now, so we'll see you on the other flip side. So, while